here to inside this cushion. Yes, if you would step in here. Stephen, you come over to this side, then we'll have three on each side. And Michael will be stepping in front of that cushion. Are you Josh? Okay. This is Michael also. Please pass out the chant cards for everyone. We'll be chanting the repentance and refuges on the cover, as well as, I think you just need the white one. Yeah, that's the daily practice. What would you do if I never came back? Please turn facing across and the bell bow to each other. Facing across. And turn facing the altar. You'll get a little smoky in here. Anybody bothered by incense? Please join in three bows. These are for Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, three treasures.
All my past and harmful karma, born from beginningless greed, hate, and delusion, through body, speech, and mind, I now fully avow. All my past and harmful karma, born from beginningless greed, hate, and delusion, through body, speech, and mind, I now fully avow. All my past and harmful karma, born from beginningless greed, hate, and delusion, through body, speech, and mind, I now fully avow. I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in Dharma, I take refuge in Sangha, I take refuge in Buddha, the fully awakened one. I take refuge in Dharma, the compassionate teaching. I take refuge in Sangha, the harmonious community. I have completely taken refuge in Buddha. I have completely taken refuge in Dharma. I have completely taken refuge in Sangha. Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra. bodhisattva, when deeply practicing Prajnaparamita, clearly saw that all five aggregates are empty and thus relieved all suffering. Shariputra form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form itself. Emptiness itself, form, sensation, perception, formations, and consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked by emptiness. They neither arise nor cease, are neither defiled nor pure, neither increase nor decrease. Therefore, given emptiness, there is no more, no sensation, no perception, no formation, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sight, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of mind, consciousness. There is neither ignorance nor extinction of ignorance, neither old age and death nor extinction of old age and death, no suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path, no knowledge, and no attainment, with nothing to attain. A bodhisattva relies on Prajnaparamita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future rely on Prajnaparamita, and thereby attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore, know the Prajnaparamita as the great miraculous mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, which removes all suffering and is true, not false. Therefore, we proclaim the Prajnaparamita mantra, the mantra that says Gate, Gate, Para, Gate, Parasam, Gate, Bodhi, Swaha.
So please, those of you who are here to witness, find a comfortable seat in the perimeter. The three candidates I asked to stand here. Middle. And Jen, if you will come, we'll be using that microphone when you read this sermon. So, one in the middle, and one on either side. Step forward, so line Stephen up with the center here. We will have time afterwards for questions. We'll go to lunch. To explain this a little bit as we go. Not 100%. I think the microphone. Okay. Thank you. I'll speak a little louder. Okay. So this is the Soto Zen. Soto is one of the many sects of Zen. Renzai you may have heard of. There are others. Soto is the sect that emphasizes meditation in Buddhism, in Japanese Buddhism. and it's a lay initiation ceremony, receiving the precepts, Jukai Tokudo, meaning something like receiving the precepts. Master optional if you're whatever you want to be comfortable with. Joshua. So welcome. You're here to witness Joshua, Stephen, and Michael undergoing Jukai, receiving the precepts and formally joining the Zen Buddhist Sangha. This is something anyone is able to do, and we enable that process. It's your decision, making a public commitment to your practice. We have chanted the Heart of Great Wisdom Sutra, so now we'll ask each candidate to step up and offer a pinch of incense. Because of the atmosphere, instead of 3 pinches, we're keeping the smoke down a little bit. So you simply take a pinch and touch it to your forehead, sprinkle it on the charcoal, making a bow first. Michael, if you'd like to start. Step in, we bow to each other. 1 pinch to your forehead. And sprinkle on the charcoal. And again, we bow to each other. Step back. That's one. We save the best for last. 1 pinch to your forehead. This is the way we dedicate ourselves. Step back. Here. Shikak, if you'd like to come up front and get some pictures of faces. Where's the video camera? It's on the other side, okay. So, these pinches represent the 3 treasures. Buddha, meaning historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, 2,500 years ago in India, but also our self-nature. It's called Buddha. Buddha simply means awake. So we're aspiring to wake up. Dharma, the compassionate teaching, as handed down in the written form and spoken form, but also Dharma as we witness it in everyday life. Dharma also means law, or process, or reality. And Sangha, the community of trainees, which originally was Buddha's order in India, then through China and Far East, Japan's period, down to us today. Vietnam, we don't want to forget Vietnam. So Sangha means harmonious community. We all belong to many communities. They're not all harmonious. In order to be harmonious, to be a Sangha, to be harmonious. So this is my seal of approval on these 3 candidates. Approval is probably not the right word. Agreement. So I'd like to ask Shinjin, Mike Goldman, to now read the sermon. And Jukai means receiving the precepts. And then our timekeeper, Dawn, today will chime in with some more readings about the ceremony. We need the microphone. Thank you.
Welcome. We gather to celebrate the initiates of these 3 onto the path of Zen, the way of enlightenment. We use the metaphors path and journey to describe the Zen life being undertaken. In early Buddhism, the phrase entering the stream was used. They suggest stepping into and being carried onward by the flowing Buddha wisdom. We use the English term initiation, which suggests a transition in the beginning of something new. This Tokudo ceremony is all of these things and more. The term Tokudo sometimes translates as attaining the other shore, as we have just chanted in the Great Heart Sutra. Excuse me. Tokudo is a celebration of both beginnings and endings, of undertaking and attainment. These are no newcomers to practice. They have been working hard for many years, and their practice is now strong and vital. They are well known to the Sangha and have made contributions to the center by regular attendance and support of our activities. So while we call this an initiation, it is merely an acknowledgement of something well underway. There is a wonderful story from the Lotus Sutra about a young man who grows up with a loving father in a fine home filled with treasure. Yet, in his confusion and anger, the boy runs away in search of riches. He travels for many years and undergoes many hardships, never finding his riches until all memory of his home and family are lost to him. Years later, his father spies a ragged beggar in the distance, yet immediately recognizes his lost son. He sends attendants out to welcome his son, yet the boy flees, thinking them sent to beat him. The wise father is troubled, but devises a plan slowly to regain his son's trust. He sends an attendant dressed as a beggar to inform the son that meals are to be had for work at the mansion. Gradually, over time, the son is given more and more responsibility in his work until after many years, the lost son rises to oversee the mansion and all of the father's business interest. Only then does the wise father finally reveal his true relationship to his lost son. Only then does the son realize his birthright, that the riches he sought so fruitlessly were always in his possession. Our practice is like this. Takudo marks the beginning of a search for something we already possess. As part of this ceremony, the candidates will undertake 11 of the 16 Buddhist precepts, the 3 refuges, the 3 pure precepts, and the 5 grave precepts. The precepts are guidelines for living in accord with the Zen life. They help us to actualize and manifest our Zen practice. By undertaking the precepts, Takudo becomes something we do, not just something we did. To bring our life into harmony and accord with the precepts requires attention to every action and every step.
So next, purification. Water represents purity, the non-duality of the Dharma. We often say Zazen is like returning to the well for a fresh drink of water. It's tasteless, but very nourishing. And so as we do this, I will asperge the air around you and around me, and I will water your temple for the later hair shaving, head shaving. So we chant Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, I take refuge in Shakyamuni Buddha. And we'll go through this 3 times. Anyone else who wants to join in is certainly welcome to. I will chant the line first and you repeat after me. Namu Shakyamuni Butsu. Namu, I take refuge in Shakyamuni Buddha. Namu Shakyamuni Butsu. I take refuge in Shakyamuni Buddha. Namu Shakyamuni Butsu. I take refuge in Shakyamuni Buddha. For some reason, the ancients repeated everything 3 times. I think they had some cultural meme that if you said it once, you might not mean it. But if you say it 3 times, you have to mean it. So if you will follow me, carry the water. Say Hats, I shave your head. Hey Hats, I shave your head. Glad everybody has hair today. Hey Hats, I shave your head. I think in the early times, the shaving was actually hygienic. In our times, it's symbolic. But it's symbolic of leaving behind the past, starting on a new life, and leaving behind mainly your opinion of your own past. So now, we begin the repentance and refuges portion. Go on, Tsuki-san will strike the gong, chant the title. I will recite each phrase. After the middle gong, you recite the phrase back. Please pay attention.
Acknowledgement of karma.
All the karmic action ever committed by me since of old. Karmic action ever committed by me since of old, arising from greed, anger, and delusion. Born of this body, mouth, and mind. I now acknowledge and accept all consequence with equanimity. Now, in light of the difficulty of living a Zen life, even acknowledging that most of our troubles come from past karmic action, we take refuge in the three treasures, the three jewels of Buddhism.
Three treasure refuges.
I take refuge in Buddha, the fully awakened one. I take refuge in Dharma, the compassionate teaching. I take refuge in Sangha, the harmonious community. And now receiving the precepts, please repeat after me. I have taken refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. The Tathagata realized true enlightenment and is my great teacher. I have taken refuge in the Tathagata. Please look with compassion upon my humble vows. Tathagata, Tatha means something like thus or it, pointing at the ineffable. Tathagata is the thus come one who apprehends, comes from, and returns to suchness. That kind of meaning. Tathagata was one of 10 honorifics given Shakyamuni during his time. And now the three pure precepts. Please respond, yes, sensei, if you agree. First precept, not creating evil, do no harm. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? Yes, sensei. Second pure precept, practicing good, do only good. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? Yes, sensei. Third pure precept, purifying intentions, do good for others. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? Yes, sensei. You must not break these three pure precepts. Please observe these precepts as you have promised. It should be mentioned that purity here does not mean morality or some kind of altruistic, idealistic concept. It simply means non-dual. So doing good, doing only good, doing good for others always has another side to the story. You have to figure that out. That's where wisdom balances compassion. And now the 5 grave precepts. You have received 3 pure precepts, now the 5 grave precepts. These are precepts of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Affirm life, do not kill. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? Yes, sensei. Be giving, do not take what is not freely given. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? Yes, sensei. Honor the body, do not engage in sexual misconduct. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? The manifest truth, do not speak falsely. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? Proceed clearly, do not cloud the mind with intoxicants. Will you observe this precept until you realize Buddhahood? You must not break these 5 grave precepts. Please observe these precepts as you have promised. Now, it has to be said in passing that we observe them by breaking them. And then we take the precept again until we finally get it, until it sinks in. And it's also that they are impossible from a literal perspective. Impossible not to kill as long as you are alive, so forth. So they become more meaningful over time. You have received the 3 refuges, the 3 pure precepts, and the 5 grave precepts. Will you observe these precepts until you realize Buddha? You must not break these 11 precepts. Please observe these precepts as you have promised. When sentient beings receive the precepts, they enter the realm of the Buddhas, which is none other than the great enlightenment. Truly, they are the children of Buddha. And now might be a good time to read Jukai.
The phrase Jukai literally means receiving the precepts, but the character Ju can also mean giving. The wine flows both ways at this table. Tokudo enriches and nourishes both the recipient and the Sangha. Undertaking Tokudo is a great gift to the community and a cause for great celebration. The 3rd pure precept you will receive today is the Bodhisattva vow to save all sentient beings. Part of this ceremony is the arousing of profound compassion. With this ceremony, we vow to move beyond the concerns of little mind and get on with the great matter of ending suffering.
So that's incense, the vestment, take it out of the box. You hold one end, I hold the other. This out 5, 2, 3 times. So as I place this over your head and shoulders, please bow slightly in Gasho, hands in Gasho. Pull both arms out from under and back. That's how you accept the Wagesa. The Wagesa represents Buddha's robe, like the lapel of the robe. It has emblazoned on it the symbols for Eiheiji and Sojiji Monastery, the 2 major training monasteries in Japan today. So this 5-petaled flower is Eiheiji. This, I believe, is chrysanthemum, like the royal flower. It's Sojiji. Eiheiji was established by Master Dogen, 13th century. He was called the father Soto Zen in Japan. And Sojiji, where Matsuoka Roshi studied, practiced, established by Keizan Zenji a couple of generations later. Keizan was known as the mother of Zen, Soto Zen in Japan. My teacher said, treat this as you would your own eyes. Now the juice beads. Did you say something about the Wagesa yet?
The Wagesa is symbolic of robes worn by Buddhas and his followers. Traditionally, monks wove their own robes from discarded scraps as part of renunciation of the world of delusion. The metaphor of taking on new clothing is powerful and evocative. Wear your Wagesa when you sit as a reminder of this tradition and your undertaking today. These are Buddha's robes. Treat them with great respect.
Please read the part about Juza beads.
The Juza beads are Buddhist Rosary. The 27 beads on the wrist of the rosary represent the traditional list of 108 delusions which are considered hindrances on the path. The beads always come in multiples of 9. Think of each bead as representing 4 delusions. The tassel represents the roots of the lotus of wisdom. You may turn each bead as a concentration aid, much like counting the breath. What are the 108 delusions? Create your own list.
And the beads. Oh, you just did the beads. I have more than 108. And Zengasho. Pull close. Pull one out. One hand out. And back. Leave that in your thumb. There aren't enough malas in the world. This is called a wrist mala, a neck mala. Maybe familiar with, like a long necklace. Shinjin. So now we're going to present the certificate and Dharma name. So I'll ask each of you to step up again, this time starting with Michael. And you and I incense your certificate together. 2 times around. So this ceremony or certificate has a document of the ceremony. You can refer back to it anytime you like. Also a set of initiate guidelines, which basically tell you what you can expect from us, not so much what we are expecting from you, how you live your Zen life, entirely up to you. So, initiation certificate, Jukai receiving the precepts certifying that Mr. Michael David Messinger, who shall hereafter be known by the Dharma name of soul, meaning male, soul meaning monk or man, Daikan. Daikan is the name of a radish, but that's not what this means. This means great mirror. And it's like a Zen mirror or the Hokkyo Zanmai mirror of Samadhi, you may be familiar with, precious mirror. And all of your names for today's ceremony have been chosen from the first chapter in this book, which is free, I believe it's free from Soto Shimucho, which is the Japanese school. And part 1 is points to watch in practicing the way, Gakudo Yodenshu, which is a famous classical of Dogen Zenji. This is translated by Shohaku Okumura, a very wonderful, wonderful translation. And as it says here, Heart of Zen, page 26. So if you look in page 26, you will find footnotes, and there you will find your Dharma name. And you can refer to the footnote, read back to the chapter, the very short chapters in this particular passage, and study more about your name. Master Dogen also refers frequently to the Shobogenzo Zuimonki, which was compiled and published by Eijo, his successor. So I recommend that you acquire both of these books and study them at length. And otherwise, do your best to live up to your Dharma name. So now, Joshua, your incense. So for you, we have chosen the name for Mr. Joshua Demarest, shall hereafter be known by the Dharma name of So Doshin. Doshin, Do means way, Shin means mind, heart mind, really, both in Japanese and Chinese, pronounced similarly. And again, you'll find reference to the Heart of Zen on page 8. Anybody wants to look at this before you leave today, you're welcome to. So let's incense together. And let me charge you with trying to live up to your original mind. And lastly, but not leastly, Mr. Stephen, Hugh, and Carl, who shall hereafter be known by the Dharma name of So Ishirio. Ishirio. It means beyond thinking. I know you pretty well. So let us, yes, please. Australia. Please do your best. I think you know what I mean by your name. So, again my seal of approval on these initiates. I now declare that they have each become a formal Zen Buddhist. And here's a little saying that most of the words you heard tonight were from Matsuo Hiroshi. This was from one of our senior disciples. Purified and shaven, atoned, at one with, past karma and action, with the three treasures as refuge and the three pure and five grave precepts as guide, and with new clothes to remind you of this day, please begin, continue, and complete your new life in the Dharma. I charge the Sangha to welcome and cherish these three initiates. So before we go outdoors for a photograph, we will process around the temple, the Zendo here. I will come this way. Michael, you'll peel off and follow me. He follows Michael. Josh follows Stephen. And we'll go around the room twice and then out the door. We'll ask everyone observing to stand. As they go by, please bow to them. And Shinjin, you will pick up Joshua. We walk in Gasho with our heads slightly bowed, a moving bow.
Suppose we'll wait for a moment, everybody on Zoom. There will be a period of taking photos, and I believe Bojo Sensei mentioned a period for question and answers regarding the ceremony. So if you're willing to be patient with us, please give us some time to proceed with the events I had just stated.
Are you comfortable sitting on the floor for the interview? And let's bring out the two chairs. And one for Shinjin, one for myself.
Along here?
Yeah. So we'll all be on camera. And I think we will bring this out as usual. Please join us on the other side. What's your name? Nancy. I'm Sensei. He's teacher. Nice to meet you. You look familiar. Have you been here before? Of course, everybody looks familiar to me. Sure. Thank you. We'll do one later once we have the dialogue. now that we're online, who's to come first? Can everybody see? Please take a seat, relax. We'll face the mic, we'll face the camera light. I want you to scoot over into the frame. Michael, you'll come and sit in the back. Good looking guys. Michael? In the future, they're going to want to know who all was here. Auspicious occasion. Then you're going to need the other mic, I think, and we'll pass it back and forth. Okay. And then do we have the wireless? But I like mania. Good thing we had an online. Good thing we have young people in the group. Okay, so welcome everyone. Somebody come on camera and wave your hands if you can hear us. Okay. Somebody open up their camera. Okay, we can. Thank you, Joe. So what I would like to do is just make this kind of an interview process. And our three new initiates here, people wonder why we do this at all, let alone why we formalize it, right? And so I would just like to hear some little bit of your wayfinding story. Got into this. I'm going to leave Steve to last because he has a long one. And Steve Carr is in from Newfoundland. He's been a long time. How long have we been doing online Dokusan now? 6 months or so. And Steve contributed mightily to the second book, The Razor Blade of Zen, which is now at the publisher. He's an evolutionary biologist, and he sent back I sent him the manuscript. I said, well, I'm writing about some of this stuff. And he said, you got to redo all the evolution. It's all wrong. And so he contributed greatly to that effort and is in town for a month. So any of those of you who want to talk with him, maybe have lunch with him or whatever, please, please contact. He will be working at Georgia Tech on what kind of project?
Connecting the genetics of ancient and modern First Nations peoples.
There's not anything going to be born because of that, is there?
Some land claims. Some land claims are going to come out of that.
Yes. So Michael, let's start with you. I think you've been around longer than anyone else. This is Michael Messinger.
Hi, everyone. I guess when I was, let's see.
Can you hear Michael all right? Angan, can you hear? Okay.
In 2003, I was becoming an adult and I got into Eastern thought. And I did that for like 15 years, but didn't get much direction. And then I wanted a community where I could be more engaged. And so I was in Atlanta and I found Atlanta Soto Zen Center. And I really connected and started coming pretty frequently on Sundays. And then after a while, I became a resident for 3 months. And then I would do just at Saturdays. And I participated in one weekend retreat. But I never felt like I was really, my heart was in it to to go through Jukai. And I feel like this stage in my life now I'm entering, my heart is open for this. So, thank you.
Wonderful. It takes a while. So Joshua, tell us a little bit of your story, how you found us.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Josh. When I was in high school, I had a really bad temper. I had a lot of anger issues. Ended up getting kicked out of my house and my school, and went to a program where there was a Buddhist who just happened to be there. And I was raised very staunchly Christian, and so I had some dialogues with this guy. And they were, like nothing I had ever heard. A few years passed. I was in college, and I went to a field trip down to Atlanta. Ended up falling in with a Tibetan Buddhist crowd.
Wrong crowd.
And studied with them for quite a while until I started looking at alternatives and found Zen, and just plugged in here, and I've really loved kind of the simplicity and that side of it. So.
From our point of view, it's not that simple, but not always.
Fair enough.
So, Steve?
Or you might want to pop some corn. I'll keep it to the minimum at the moment. My family and I used to go to, I grew up in California, my family and I would go to San Francisco at intervals, and I always wanted to go to the Zen gardens there, and it struck me as a lovely, peaceful place. The Buddha, I would go and sit in front of the Buddha because I enjoyed doing that. I did the usual academic route. I did a PhD at Berkeley. And where I was living, there was a blue house on the next street, and periodically there would be a whacking, as though somebody were pounding on a piece of wood. And I wondered what that was about, but didn't do anything with it. Then the big kick was going from California, Berkeley, to right under the X in Texas, and found that I had things that I had taken for granted that were just accepted by everybody, I had to fight for them. Found myself getting angry a lot because of that. Had an experience in a hotel room where I realized that my problems were without content. Laughed repeatedly, spent a couple of weeks saying, well, if that's so, then this is so, if that's so, then this is so, if that's so, then this is so.
I want you to know that we're inviting Steve back to give his wayfinding talk later in the month, so
yes,
you'll get more detail.
And yes, this is the Reader's Digest version. I had at that point already done some work with Daesan Sanim, the Quantum Zen School from Korea, and got a job in Newfoundland. Had occasion to do a sabbatical year and where will I go on my sabbatical? Someplace I can do my science and live with the community. And that was Honolulu, Hawaii, to work with Steve Palumbi and also to work with Robert Aitken. And I was, as it turned out, head resident. I hope that's not what they told me I was going to be, at the old Kokoan Zen School from 1959, which we were told was the oldest one, and Sensei tells me it's not.
No, Sensei was in Chicago about 55,
Yeah.
54. I went to Kokoan one time. I had clients there. I had a Japanese-owned home center.
Yes.
And I had a Chinese-owned home center.
Yes.
They were my clients there.
Yes.
In different islands. And I went to Kokoan, and Aiken wasn't there, but I cleaned the bathroom.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So I got the essence.
Continuing with Kokoan, I had a room that I realized from historical records 20 people would sleep in that room during session. So I was in the first world. And same thing, wanting to come to Georgia Tech to do some work. looked to see if there was a Zen center that I could say, that I could study at, called the general number expecting to get the guest master, and it was actually Sensei. And the
Now I'm
rest.
feeling used. You just used us to come to.
Oh, no, you were the second. It's parallel. It all works in parallel. And then we started talking, discovered a similar sense of humor, I think. And the book, the first book is quite marvelous, and the second book is much improved.
Thank you. Because you worked on it. So Shenzhen, do you have questions for our guests? Newbies. Remember the mic. You're on stage. He gets no excuses. He's a performing musician.
I'm very happy to get a name.
So what do your names mean to you? Instantly. What is your name? Do you remember your Dharma name?
I can remember it because it's so funny. Daikon. It means great mirror, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Time you order that at a Japanese restaurant.
I don't know. I had a conversation with you one time, and we were talking about how I see things in the world that kind of relate to me somehow, and the world is kind of a mirror to me, but in a way, it's the reverse too. So it's kind of what I was thinking of.
Yeah. The Precious Mirror Samadhi is very compelling. It was by Tozan, who was the To and Soto Zen in China. And he says, like facing a precious mirror, form and reflection behold each other. I think that's just one of the more outstanding, startling expressions of Zen. Anybody else on your name?
I also very much appreciate my name. I have received names in other traditions in which it's generated astrologically. One of them is Pope In, which made me sound Catholic. But here this is a name given by somebody who knows me, and as we say, saw my heart, saw my sin, and it is the sin. And yes, that's exactly the problem, that the mind is a wonderful, useful thing within limits. So to go beyond all of that is what is necessary for me, and that's what I have. I admire people that go into samadhi, where I'm thinking.
Well, actually, according to my understanding at least, even in thinking, we're still in samadhi. There's no getting out of samadhi. It's just we may not be that aware of it.
Pope in? Pope in. Oh, I thought you said Pope in. I was thinking that is like Catholic.
I think everybody.
I thought you said Pope in. I'm thinking that doesn't sound Catholic. That sounds like a Delta blues musician.
Or maybe a Chinese Po means.
Pope in. More every day.
The other one that I liked was, I always thought that if I became a musician, there was a drawer in the lab for when we maintained fish. There was a drawer in the lab for when we were maintaining fish in an aquarium, and that drawer was labeled Fish Tank Gravel. And I thought, if I become a blues musician, that's my name. It will be Fish Tank. People will call me Fish Tank.
We had a naming ceremony here when Okamura came to visit us. Barbara Cohen was here. And, you know, he's two people that know as much about Zen as anybody on the planet, but apparently Barbara's Japanese isn't all that great. So we're going through the naming ceremony, and, you know, Okamura's just sitting there, just like the complete embodiment of dignity. And Barbara Cohen gives this woman her name and said it means peach blossom or something like that. Okamura starts laughing. He just starts giggling, and everybody in the room like looks over at him, and he's just laughing. And then he says, "You just named her a parking lot full of weeds." And I remember sitting here thinking, that's the coolest Dharma name I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
My name is Doshin, Waymind. Yeah, I mean, through our talks and just my life, I'm in my head a lot. And it is ultimately not good. I've learned a lot the past few years. My wife and I have been foster parents, and so I've learned a lot about thinking with the heart and kind of aligning the two when you've got that much responsibility and that. So
I recommend you read Sandokai, Harmony, Sameness, and Difference. It's very brief. It was around 700 in China. It's like only one page in terms of the way we lay it out graphically. Then there he says, how do you know, without not understanding the way before your eyes, how do you know the path you walk? Most people get the way confused with formality or with a certain way of doing this practice, but it's really pointing at the great way, which is just right in your face, all up in your face. So Doshin, I think, the way of mind would be transcending, you might say, transcending the way and finding true mind, which is the way. Make me shut up. Don't let me go on here. It'll get worse. Okay, those in the studio, or the Zendo, the Drummond studio. Any comments or questions you have? What's your name again? Nancy. Are you connected to one of the culprits here?
Yeah, I'm the mother of Michael.
Oh, welcome. You did a good one there so far.
I think so. Thank you. Now, is it appropriate to call him Daikon?
Sure. We use san also. San means affectionate, like Daikon-san.
Okay.
Daikon-san. Any comment, Nancy?
Well, it's very nice service.
You are from a different religious background than Zen or Buddhism.
Yes, but I haven't practiced it in years.
I know Zen seems alien at first.
Well, Michael shared some things along the way.
And then the longer you practice, the more alien it becomes.
It's a nice service.
This is Michael. Any comment? Pass on if you don't.
Not the moment.
Okay. Another Michael.
A lot of Michaels. I think the receiving of the name is kind of fascinating to me because when I enter the Zendo, I usually walk in with all my flaws, and I wonder if anybody can witness them or is witnessing them because of with Zen, there's always a decorum of humility, so you never really know what people are imagining about you. So I think receiving a name is pretty profound, I think, because you do get the reflection of who you are, how you're being perceived, I suppose, in some level. And I think that's somewhat both inspiring and also somewhat demanding.
That's a good catch, I think. The Native Americans would go out and go through austerities and find their true name. And in Zen, fundamental premise is to question the self. Of course, our self-identity is all tied up with our name and all of that. So being given another name kind of puts the whole thing into question. My given name from my family then looks more arbitrary. You know, it looks like, well, what does that really mean? Does it mean everything I'd like to associate with it? So it's a little bit of a shock tactic, I think, to be given a different name. And on a personal level, it's inspirational, as you're saying. And on the social level, it is somewhat like puts a kink in your relationship with everybody. You have to live up to that name. You don't have to, but encourage you to. So Chi's Dharma name is Chi Shiki, which is an equivalent in Sanskrit, Kalyana Mitra, more syllables. It means good friend, like a good friend and somebody who's interested in your practice and your acceding to the Dharma. Can't hear you quite. Speak up a little bit. I think. The hands are going up.
Testing.
Okay.
No, I was just thinking the aspirational aspects of the name, or the inspirational aspects of the name, and also the precepts. Right? And we talked about the names. We didn't talk much about the precepts. And then I guess the sitting, which brings awareness to all of it. So the reason it's aspirational is because we fail a lot. So hopefully we're able to recognize it and make finer and finer corrections. But I was wondering what people thought about the precepts, not just the names.
That's a good question for the initiates. What's your take on the precepts? You heard the first five. They consider the pretty pure, the refuges as well as precepts. And the five brave precepts are precepts of bodhisattvas.
With due deference to other competing faiths, ordinary morality, ordinary behavior seems often to be based on the idea, we'll do this or somebody's going to get you. And in Buddhism, I have understood it to be that given the initial insight, the precepts become logical. There I go thinking again, but they become logical because they flow naturally from the realization, and that you wouldn't kill yourself. Why would you kill somebody else? Because the other person is the same as yourself, and you can't steal from somebody else because that other person is yourself. The fifth precept of not engaging in intoxicants always has struck me as from Animal Farm, if you remember the pigs, that the original precept is do not drink alcohol. And the pigs, after their first experience of alcohol, modify that to do not drink alcohol to excess. Yeah. And this has struck me as much more the Buddhist principle. That
more Zen. That's more Zen.
It's much more Zen. We shall not drink alcohol to excess.
Roshi, like beer and sake.
Yes.
He would hold the sake cup and say, "No alcohol."
No alcohol. No alcohol. Let's change it. So
we use the word indulge.
Indulge.
Yeah,
yes.
That's our little.
So that they are guideposts. It is a road to walk on, and sometimes they may be open, sometimes they are closed, sometimes you need to make a decision. You may need to make a decision, but they are always there as touchstones, bringing it back to the name. As with the name, this is a name as a touchstone. Many of the koan points, many of the things that you pick up, that is just in the back of your mind. And when you are tempted to do something un-Buddhistic.
Just two things on that. One, intoxicants are recognized to be, alcohol is probably one of the least harmful of the intoxicants. You have pride and wealth and power. And
refined sugar.
down sugar. We see the result of that now. So the hangover is what is your clue to whether you overindulged or not. So, Michael, did you have something? I should start calling you by your Dharma name, but I'll.
That's okay. You've been calling me that a long time. Yeah, I was raised a Christian, and I think I believed a lot of the same things as the three precepts, the three pure precepts, and the 5 great precepts. And now to take all of them on, all 11.
There are 5 more to go.
Total of 16. How come we don't take the remaining 5?
They're mainly for disciples. They're more like, do not discuss the faults of others. They're more training issues,
I see. Okay.
social issues.
But yeah, it resonates with who I am and what I believe, and it also gives me something to strive for in those situations where I'm struggling. So I think one of them is that really I want to work on and continue working on is not making false statements or lies. And I kind of take that as when I'm speaking to someone, I think I'm speaking honestly, but I'm not really speaking honestly, and I'm not aware of that. So it's just opening my awareness and through all of these.
How many ways can we lie?
More than one, and more than ways I even was conscious of. Wasn't even conscious. So thank you.
I was really struck by the aspirational impossibility of it all, right? To completely say I will not kill, well, where do we really define life? Plants, animals, when I'm cutting the grass, some stuff like that. It's not something that we can ever really hope to fully achieve, but it's something to strive for. And that kind of little bit of never quite making it means that, no matter what, you've always got something to keep pursuing. So
we picked up the affirmative side from Untitled Chapter's group in October. So each of those is like affirm life, do not kill. The prohibitive part is, do your best to not kill. But killing is also understood in Buddhism to be denying something that's good in nature, like a cockroach or a mosquito or something, instead of seeing it as part of your same nature, that you share this nature with this conscious being, no matter what level of consciousness. And then manifest truth. Do not speak falsely. And we have to admit that we cannot but speak falsely. It's very difficult to speak the truth. And that's why you see Shakyamuni, Dogen, these great geniuses of Zen in the history, were able to sort of point at the truth with language, but you can't actually say it. And so everything we say is, in that sense, not true. Doesn't mean it's an intentional lie. And that I think is the key. Intention runs through all of this, and intention becomes the key point. If it's karmic, it's because it was intentional. If you accidentally lie or inadvertently, do something to harm somebody, at least in Buddhism, you're not exactly off the hook, but it's not quite as bad as if you're doing it intentionally.
I had something I wanted to share with Joshua. Noting your concern with anger, and that was one of the precepts that I struggled with until, as with a lot of them, the 100th or 200th time you repeat it, that in the other school I was associated with, still am associated with, it was that I will not indulge in anger.
Yeah.
And that there is no difficulty in becoming angry. The difficulty is when you do something. So if you get angry at somebody, that's fine, but you can't hit them. and without that payoff for how good it feels when you release the adrenaline by hitting something, gradually the desire to become angry goes away, given that anger can motivate a fight for justice, and that what you are doing, you must stop. Or not that you must stop it, but that I must oppose that.
This comes up all the time in Dokusan now because of COVID and then Putin. They're all 5-letter words. Have you noticed that?
Yes, yeah,
There's this whole category of.
like Wordle.
So I just wanted to mention, for Nancy's sake, that Jesus is considered a bodhisattva in Buddhism, an enlightening being like Buddha. And there's no real conflict with Christianity. Christianity parts ways with Buddhism, certainly, and some belief systems. Well, let's go online before we run out of time. And I see Joseph and Angan and Katsuryu. Please just come off mute and pose a question if you'd like to interrogate our guinea pigs here. Anyone? Yes, Cuts.
Welcome, everyone. I don't want to interrogate anyone. I wish to welcome the 3 Jukai candidates to the Sangha. And this is a wonderful path. I hope you follow it. Take care.
Thank you for that. Joseph.
Hey, hopefully it's catching my video. I can't even see, but
Yep, we can see you.
hey guys. Well, I just wanted to say welcome to the Sangha, and yeah, it's funny. I do want to try to pose a so like an interrogating welcome question. I was really struck by what Sensei just said about kind of similarities between the world religions, and there's something obviously very specific and distinct about the content of Mahayana Buddhism in general and Zen in particular. And I don't know, I was really struck by all the sort of wayfinding stories, and thank you for sharing them. It was really beautiful. But yeah, I guess I would be curious if you could speak to like just in world history, there was a period of time between maybe 1 AD and 4 AD in East Asia and surrounding countries where a lot of, movements became convinced of this idea. It gets expressed in various ways, that the universe is the dream of a wooden man, or everything is like the biography of the child of a barren woman, or everything is like horns on a rabbit. And it's very close in time to when an awakened individual in the Middle East began teaching about the kingdom of heaven. I mean, just culturally, Jesus would have been part of a number of different movements in that area. It was a time of very fertile religious innovation and spiritual discovery. And I mean, and anyway, I don't know. It's exciting to me and very life affirming to just be able to observe the ceremony, and it's very moving to me. Don't feel like you have to respond to any of this, but
Well, can you filter that down into a question?
yeah, if you have any thoughts on the way the world religions overlap. I mean, you've made a decision, I guess, just to sharpen the point, you've made a decision today that is saying I'm walking this mountain and not those other mountains. And
it's kind of an interfaith question. What's the overlap?
Anyway, how do you understand Sensei's remark, I guess, a few moments ago when he mentioned, yeah.
Anyone want to take a shot at that, Josh? Reaching tentatively for the microphone.
Thank you for the question. First, from like a kind of a historical perspective, I've always looked at the similarities between the teachings of Jesus and the teachings of Buddha, and also like some really strange, almost direct quotes from like Pure Land school, recitation of a name, and no one goes to heaven but by my name. Stuff like that has always kind of struck me as clear indications that perhaps Jesus was a bodhisattva and preaching that. In terms for what I have nothing but respect for pretty much all the other religions in the world. I think they do some wonderful things for a lot of people. For me personally, I was raised in a church environment where there was a lot of toxicity and a lot of hatred, and it didn't cultivate the best me that I could be. And when I came to Buddhism, I kind of found a path that helped me affirm who I wanted to be and that led me to a pretty similar morality. Don't kill, don't lie, don't cheat. That actually came from me rather than threat of burning in hell. So
I think that's a good point too, that we all have precepts, they're just unconscious. When we take the precepts in Buddhism, it raises it to a level of awareness.
There's and thank you for the question, because all of these things roll around in the head. The old notion that perhaps Jesus spent some of his time in the East, and when we read some of these enigmatic things that Jesus said, that they actually represent Eastern teachings. I have been quite struck by a number of Zen teachers who have said, when you look at Jesus saying, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," suggesting that that is perhaps a poor translation, and that what Jesus meant was, do unto others as though they are you. So there is no difference between self and other, and that's what he meant to say. And you have Greek-speaking Hebrew scholars try to interpret that and write it down. Something is lost in translation.
I think Shinjin would agree. We both do quite a bit of interfaith work. There's a group out of Korea that we meet with, World Peace Movement, and it's a panel. It has people representing other religions, and when you really talk through it without rancor or fighting, at least I've begun to hear that I think it's largely semantics. The differences reduced to semantics.
That actual quote comes from the Jewish tradition. A few hundred years before Jesus was born, Rabbi Hillel was being tortured and by the Hasmonean Greeks, and they basically threw the Torah at him and said, recite the entire thing standing on one foot. And he picked up one foot and just said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and put his foot back down. So it's possibly more likely that Jesus was paraphrasing Rabbi Hillel, because that story would have been well known. Yeah.
Anyone else online, please? There we go, Angan.
Yeah, Shinjin, it would help when you're talking if you will talk into your microphone instead of away from it.
Okay.
Congratulations to you three folks. It's great to see you. And should you ever get down toward Jacksonville, Florida, we would love to have you drop by our Sangha and meet the folks.
In fact, Shinjin and I are going down there. What's the date?
Yeah, we'll be there.
7th or 8th?
Yeah.
7th.
Yeah, we'll be there on the 7th.
We're doing Jukai in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Hey, that rhymes. Sorry. Jukai in Jacksonville. Sounds like a song. Corolla. Adrian.
Welcome to the new initiates. I'd like to start out by pointing out that just about every culture has had some version of the golden rule. So I don't think anybody really invented it. I think it's a logical thing if human beings want to live together and not just exterminate each other. And I'd also like to point out that Jesus did not need to go to the East, because the East came to him. There were Buddhist missionaries in Egypt couple of centuries before Jesus. Ashoka sent missionaries out to Europe, to the Middle East, and while they probably didn't last a long time or really stick, I'm pretty sure some of those ideas maintained in some subtle form, or, you know, in some change of attitude. I think if you want to look at Jesus, my favorite story from the New Testament is the story of the sheep and the goats, where Jesus is sorting out the sheep and the goats, and he says to the sheep, I was hungry and you fed me, and I was naked and you clothed me, and you visited me when I was sick and in prison. And they said, we don't remember doing that. And he says, whatever you did to the least unto these, you did unto me. And that relates back to the original point I was going to talk about, which is that the comment about our precepts don't say do this or you're going to get it. The fact is, no matter what you do, somebody's going to get it. That every action we commit has consequences. And we don't really know for sure what those consequences are going to be or who they're going to land on, which is why we have to be very thoughtful in our actions and in our speech, because we don't know what is going to come of them. And all we can do is do our best to try to do wholesome speech and wholesome action that will have positive consequences, but we never really know. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Any response to that? You guys?
Thank you.
She's a physicist, so she's also logical.
I've always had an understanding that for every action you undertake, you usually want to have a consequence come of it. And regardless of that consequence, whether or not that happens or not, there's going to be 3 more that you have to face, good or bad, that you won't see coming. And then there will be 9 more that other people will have to face that you may never know about. So that understanding, I mean, again, it all comes back that we're all connected, and kind of approaching the precepts not as a, someone above you kind of handing these down and saying, you've got to do this, but it's the only way, not only, to preserve the world, but yourself as well. So.
Now, the consequences of karma are certainly not Newtonian. Okay, is that Elisa? I can't quite read your name from here.
That's me.
Hi.
Hey, I just wanted to tell you guys this is the first time I've been able to attend a ritual like this, and I'm honored to be able to watch you guys be initiated. And congratulations.
Thank you. We'll have another one in November. November is Founders Month. Matsuoka Roshi was born and died in November. And so that's the time of year when we typically do our annual. So anybody wants to join in November, let us know. Anybody, you're not joining anything, you're becoming an initiate, Jukai. Anybody wants to Jukai in November, let us know. So any other comments online? Robert, anything? Abhilasha? Abhilasha, I think you're new. Are you new for us? I don't recognize your name.
Yeah, I am. Hello, everybody. It was, this is first time, and it was really, like, I didn't know that it's going to be a initiation ceremony, but I think luckily I found to see that. So that was really good. Congratulations, you all.
Thank you, Abhilasha. So Robert, anything? Bradshaw?
No, I would just get lost in the weeds with metaphysics, so I'll keep myself.
All right. And Joseph, did you say something, Joseph? You were the first, I think. Okay.
I didn't have anything else. It was just a beautiful series of comments. Unless there was another Joseph you're trying to get.
I don't mean you, I mean the other Joe.
Right. Perfect.
Joe Mendez.
Oh, hi, Sensei. Congratulations to the initiates. On the topic of the precepts, I might encourage you, as I encourage myself, the Thursday liturgy is the Loving Kindness Sutra, the Metta Sutra. And I think in the context of the Metta Sutra, the precepts would be seen as an act of kindness. So keeping the precepts as an act of kindness for yourself and as for others. And as Carol said, since there's no separation, to be kind to yourself is to be kind to everyone and everything, and to be kind to someone else or something else is to be kind to yourself. So that's a great reminder when you get to the Thursday liturgy. So I encourage you to take a look at it mindfully.
Okay, so does anyone else have anything to follow? Tsuki, you haven't said anything. Tsuki is our tech guy today. He's young.
I do have
Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question on is this every Sunday at 9 a.m.? Like you all meet there?
Yes, that's the beginning of the meditation is at 9. And by 10:30, we pretty much launch into the service and this dialogue.
Okay.
Which typically we're done by noon. Okay,
Okay.
Shikak, anything to add? Give him the microphone. No? Okay. Merciful silence, the beginning of wisdom. So should we?
I was thinking if Ananda had all of the gear. If Ananda had all of the gear that you have, it would have been much easier to remember, to write down everything that the Buddha said.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Ananda changed it intentionally.
If the Buddha said, I never said that.
So we close with the 4 vows. We repeat them 3 times. If you don't know them, you'll begin to pick them up. Does anybody want a pamphlet to follow? We go through them 3 times. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Thanks to all for being here. Suki, do you want to make any announcements? Any of our normal announcements? Nope. We're here. We'll be here next time.
Statistically, if I say something about Dana, y'all are like 30% more likelier to give to the Sangha or something like that. I took a fundraising course, so I'm obliged to mention that. So statistically, you're more likely to give us money. So that's everything I have to say.
That's a reminder. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Angan, we're coming your way. So if you want to keep one.